Hey there, in this lesson we're going to be talking about super. But before we do that, I'm just going to move set species because it does not need to be in the dog class. It should be in the parent class. I forgot to do that in the last lesson. So what we want to do here is when the dog speaks, we want the dog to not only say what it's supposed to say, but we want it to say whatever its parent class is going to say as well. So let's go ahead and change its parent class. We have class animal, method speak, console.log, parent. That's all we're going to say. And in here, we're going to put child. Now, when we run dog.speak, I'm going to go to the page, and all it says is child. Okay, and that's doing as expected, because in this method, when we overwrote this one, when we added speak to the subclass of dog, it said, oh, I don't need the parent stuff anymore. All I'm going to do is run this piece of code. Whatever is in here is no longer relevant to me. I've grown up, I've turned 18 or 25 or whatever, and I'm moving out. But there are times when you want to lean on your parents a little bit. And in this case, if we wanted to say whatever the parent says, all we do is type super.speak. Now save, refresh our page, and now we get parent and child. What super does is it basically says, okay, well, which class am I extending? It says, okay, it's going to go up and say, well, the class is currently dog, but it's extending animal. So it's going to go up here and says, oh, animal, okay. And then, because we wrote .speak, it's now in the animal class, and it's going to look for the speak method and run it. Simple as that. But what happens if we go down the rabbit hole even further? And what happens if we said class cat extends dog, which is completely unrealistic, but that's not the point here. And we also gave it a speak method, and we said console.log cat. And just to clarify, let's do this. I'm going to change that to dog, and we're going to change this to animal. This way, when they console log to our console, we are going to know which ones are running. And it just gets a little bit easier to keep track of in your mind. So now we have, let's change dog to cat. Can we even do this? Does this work? Well, let's save this and give it a shot. There we go, we have cat. So what this is doing is we now have an extension on an extension of a class. So cat extends dog, so whatever dog has. So if we said that dog has to have a particular function, a particular method called jump, then cat will also get this, but animal does not have it. And that's like when your parents raise you, they have a lot of different attributes, life skills, a lot of wisdom. But as you grow up, you absorb their knowledge, their information, and you try to use that to better yourself. But along the way in your life, you also get new life experience, new wisdom, things that they have not experienced, things that their grandparents did not experience. But then when you have kids, you pass that information down to your kids, and the same thing happens. So now, what happens if we run super.speak? Do you think super.speak is going to run just dog? Or is it going to run dog and animal? Or just go straight to the top and run animal? Refresh the page, save the file, and okay, so we have cat, it ran as expected, dog ran as expected, animal ran as expected. And that's because it's going up the chain. Now what happens if we comment out super.speak on the dog class? We go over here, and it goes cat, dog. The reason for that is because this super is going to whatever class that cat is extending, which is just dog, and is going to run this one. But there is no more super in here, and so because there is no more super in there, it stops, it breaks the chain. As soon as we uncomment this, this method is going to run and say, oh, I also need to do the exact same thing. I need to go up to the animal class and do whatever it wants to do as well. And that's why, when I save and refresh, we get animal, dog, cat. One thing to take note of is that super automatically is run first. And just like normal code, I mean, one line before the other one, just like CSS. The computer renders from top to bottom. But what this is doing is it's saying super.speak. Okay, so it goes up here, runs this one, and it says super.speak. Okay, it's going to go up here and it's going to run this one, and then it does console animal. Well, that function is now done. The method has nothing else to run. Okay, so well, this line is now done. It's going to run this one, and then oh well, this method is also finished, and then it's going to run cat because this line is finished. So now we're talking about a lot of inheritance. We're talking about not only inheritance, but leveraging what our parents can give us. Why or where would we ever use this? Well, let's change this to meow. Let's change this to woof. And let's change this to the animal says. And so as long as we run super speak, it's always going to say the animal says, and then whatever is going to come after it. Same thing here. The animal says, woof, and meow. Exactly what we wanted. Now, the reason that meow doesn't say the animal says in front of it is because, again, super does not go straight to the top. Super just goes one parent class above it, whichever one it's extending. So in this case, dog goes here, and it says woof. There you have it. If you have watched the last few lessons on classes, this is all classes are. It's just a bunch of functions wrapped together, and then you can call them using basically a variable, and you can string them together. So when you move to a server-side language, whether that's Node, you're going to be familiar with this already because this is pretty much the exact same, or Python, which is very, very similar, or PHP, which is even more similar, then you'll know exactly how to write classes. What I would like for you to do for your assignment in this lesson is I want you to write a normal class. You could even take the work that you did in the previous lesson, extend it, again, that should have been done from the previous lesson, and extend it once more. And then I want you to use super. Remember, super is only going to run the class that it's extending. So this, in this case, is dog, and is basically saying, in a sense, without initializing the dog class. Go ahead, give that a shot. If classes are hard for you to wrap your head around, don't get discouraged. It's not a normal way of thinking. It does take a little bit of time. I would prefer if you wrote classes instead of just regular functions. I know JavaScript developers tend to frown upon that, but that's because, and there is a surprise for you in the next lesson, this is relatively new to JavaScript, and this is a better way of programming. This is a cleaner way. This is a way for you to keep all your files organized and just to make life easier. You modulize. You put smaller pieces of code together in segments, and then you containerize it. You put it in a wrapper that doesn't allow it to break out of its containing box. And now all of a sudden, you have code that can be put into context that makes perfect sense. So go ahead, create a class, extend that class, and extend the extended class, and just see what happens. And then also run super on 3 of the exact same methods that are in each of the classes, just like you see here. You can ask questions in our Facebook group. The Facebook group has a ton of support in there, and a lot of people in our Facebook group have already taken this course or something similar to this. So they are familiar with a lot of these concepts, even if it's not JavaScript, it might be Python. The concepts are pretty much global across every object-oriented programming language. And it's really easy to transfer your skills from this lesson to, for example, Python and Django.